So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for day 2 of Network After Work's Digital Marketing Summit focused on how to maximize Facebook for business. Today, our speaker, Benjamin, will discuss Facebook ads. Benjamin Kepner is the CEO and founder of Global Social Media Marketing and has a decade of experience growing millions in global sales with technology, partnership marketing, and Facebook advertising. As a multilingual marketer in English, Mandarin, Chinese, and Spanish, he is focused on collaborating with globally minded entrepreneurs and innovative schools to achieve social media marketing, education technology training, and international business expansion goals. In addition to this, he is also the communications chair for Mile High Young Professional, event manager for Network After Work in Denver, and graduated from the world-renowned Cat Howell Facebook Ads Accelerator Academy. As Benjamin goes through his presentation, feel free to leave your questions in the Q&A section or in the chat. Without further ado, I will now hand it over to Ben. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Natalie, and thanks to Network After Work for having me in their Facebook Series Summit. So without further ado, I'm going ahead and jump in so you can see the 3 speakers. I'm the speaker for today. So to kind of start with the presentation, I've got a little kind of sense of humor here.
Boom shakalaka, what the people them want. Woman them
So
flex and the man them a chat.
hopefully we've got some Dumb and Dumber fans out there. No need to play all of that, but we're going to be offering a free Facebook marketing course as a giveaway at the end of this presentation. So if there's something that you feel like, hey, Benjamin, this was really advanced, or I'm still just kind of getting started out, I am going to offer that as a giveaway at the end. So feel free to stick around and everybody will have access to all of our training videos on how to do Facebook marketing and Facebook ads. So to kind of start with the presentation, I thought it would be a good idea to start with, where is Facebook ads in 2020? Why is it important potentially for you or your business? And what are the trends that are happening in Facebook ads for this year? So we can see kind of on this slide of this presentation that there are now over 2.6 billion users on Facebook. That number is up from 2 billion from last year. So pretty big jump to kind of see now that almost half of the world now is on social media, with most of their people going to Facebook as kind of that first social media platform. They also posted a Q1 revenue of almost 18 billion in ad revenue. So we know that there are tons of businesses that are using Facebook ads now, not to only generate sales, but leads, grow their fan base. Obviously, during a pandemic, Facebook has been a really good place to gain visibility as a small business owner if your shop's been closed, or just to get more exposure. And we know that there are also 80 million small businesses around the world that are currently using Facebook pages and running Facebook ads through those pages. So you can see some of these different stats out there, like marketers, consumers. We also can run our Instagram ads now on Facebook, and Facebook's going to be making a really big push for Facebook groups. This is actually an example you'll see kind of throughout my presentation. I'm going to have kind of a consistent theme of showing different types of Facebook ads, either for our company at Global Social Media Marketing or showing some of our different clients that we've worked with. And this is an example of me collecting an award in the Intercon conference last year at Las Vegas in a boosted post that we did. You can kind of see that engagement that we had on that post. So, why do Facebook ads work to grow business? Well, first off, Facebook is no different than just another channel or tool that you have in your marketing tool belt to kind of take people on a journey to understand, what your product or service is, learn more about your company, and kind of take them through that buyer journey process to ultimately, hopefully, turn into a sale or a client for you based on your given industry. So here's some different types of advantages that you have when using Facebook ads, right? We have time-sensitive messages. You can get immediate responses. You can do real time. I know right now that we are live streaming this presentation on Facebook Live. So there's also that benefit, right, of having kind of that real time, kind of exposure and engagement as a platform versus maybe something like email, right? Normally you're going to reply to an email and it's a one-to-one versus, social media innately was created for a place of community and conversations. It's very low cost of entry. It doesn't cost a lot of money to run Facebook ads. A stat on that: average small business owner in the United States in 2020 is roughly spending around $500 a month on Facebook ads, So that gives you kind of a good understanding of like, if you want to be on average with another small business, you want to be spending at least $500, and you can do those kind of allocations of your budget for different things, right? Whether it's growing your fan base or getting leads or converting sales. Everything is also trackable on Facebook, right? So long gone are the days of paying a lot of money for a billboard. And, I would recommend anybody that is paying for a billboard, I would challenge whoever you have that relationship with, and asking them, who are the people that are seeing my billboard? At what time did they see my billboard? How many leads did it generate? Did I get any phone calls from that billboard, right? All of that stuff that might not have been trackable. Even direct mail is another really good example, right? A lot of people get mail and we don't even know if they've opened it or if they read past the first sentence. So all of that stuff we can kind of tell with Facebook. And then all of this stuff on the right-hand side is more of kind of those integrations. So kind of automating, if you get leads, you can have those sent to your CRM system, or you can have them sent to your email. You can integrate it also with other different types of technologies, right? Facebook being this very tech-centric focused company, they do integrate with a lot of different products. I know I've had questions earlier this year on Salesforce. Yes, it does integrate with Salesforce. And it's just a lot of where people are spending their time, right? And Facebook has collected tons of data. I know a lot of people recently have reached out to me about the new Netflix series, Social Dilemma. And I'm here to tell you that a lot of those things in that documentary and Netflix are pretty true, in that the algorithms of Facebook have collected so much consumer data on us that the things that we do on the Facebook platform are going to factor into that algorithm, why you see a specific ad or why an audience is going to feel like an ad is more relevant or resonates with them, right? So these are all different reasons as to why you want to use Facebook ads to grow your business. And I just have kind of a simple little funnel approach, right? Most beginner Facebook ad people are going to probably start with something like this, right? Where they've got a Facebook ad. It's going to drive traffic to normally a landing page on a website. And then they're going to collect information. If we're doing e-commerce, right, we're obviously trying to make a purchase of a product, or if you're selling a course or something like that, if you're a coach or a consultant, right, you're going to get their information. And then they're going to kind of go into that sales funnel of maybe some follow-up emails. Maybe they might get a text message, and then kind of ultimately closing them into the sale. And this is a great kind of like conceptual image to look at what a funnel looks like. But I don't think that if you're going into Facebook ads and you're just going to turn on some lead ads or some conversion ads and you follow this approach, that's really the best methodology. That would be something, if you're just trying to collect some data and you're trying to get a lot of leads quickly, I would recommend. But if you're really trying to get quality and get customers instead of just getting leads, and I'm going to kind of walk through in this presentation some better strategies than just kind of this simple diagram that we see here, right? And one last thing before I move on is you can kind of see from this diagram, right, that there's multiple touch points that a person takes to buy a product or service. And that holds true, right? Any of my salespeople that are hopefully listening to this, if you guys are thinking about using Facebook ads, you know that if you call somebody on a phone, you talk to them, the first time you talk to them, you're probably not going to close the sale. So you shouldn't go in with Facebook ads thinking the same thing. You want to kind of just think of like, hey, Facebook is a really good first brand touch point. And then you kind of need to educate them, guide them through, handle their objections, and ultimately move them to that sale. And just don't go in and launch one Facebook ad and think, okay, this is going to lead to a bunch of sales. So I actually have a video of a conference that I was at last year through Ask Live. It's in Austin, Texas, and it's with a very world-renowned marketer by the name of Ryan Levesque. And he also had another guest speaker. And so obviously at the end of this presentation, you're going to have access to all of these Facebook videos. So obviously check that one out. It really kind of goes more into depth about what a Facebook ad sales funnel looks like and the different strategies. But without watching this video in today's presentation, because it is a 30-minute long video, I wanted to just include it and mention it, but then just kind of drill down on what are the 3 things from that presentation that really lead to a strong, successful Facebook ad sales funnel in 2020. And these are the big 3 things, right? Follow. Number 1 is when we run a Facebook ad, we want to capture people's attention, right? 70% of people that use Facebook today are accessing Facebook through their mobile phone, and they're scrolling a million miles an hour, right? Maybe they're waiting in line to get their food. Maybe they're going to the bathroom. Maybe they're having a conversation with somebody in the other room and they're looking at their phone, right? People are multitasking more than ever, and people are scrolling very, very quickly through their Facebook feed. So when you've got about maybe 3 to 5 seconds to grab their attention, you need something that's eye-catching. Usually bright images work really well. And kind of almost think about it like a TV commercial, or if I was watching a movie and there's going to be all these trailers, right? I only have a limited amount of time, and whatever I see visually is going to be the first thing that kind of grabs my attention. The next thing is kind of the frequency, right? Like, who are you showing your ads to? And kind of having a smart audience strategy, right? It doesn't make sense probably for most people to target the entire world. For example, if you're a small business owner and you're based where I'm based in Denver, Colorado, maybe you're only looking to reach people that are in Colorado or within the Denver area, right? So kind of figuring out, where do I want to be geographically, demographically, right? Am I trying to target a specific ethnicity, or am I trying to target a specific age, right? It's nothing about, trying to not include people, but it's actually just thinking about who are the people that are most relevant. They're going to lead to customers, right? We're not trying to not appeal to everybody in marketing, but we really want to laser and target focus the people that we actually think are going to be customers, hopefully, or at least be long-term fans that can refer us to customers. And then the final thing is the fun, right? So, one thing that I see outside of the audience strategy, which I think is a big thing that a lot of people are, maybe there's some room for improvement there, is having a really good value offer, right? So things like a free phone call consultation, or maybe a free kind of checklist for something that you're educating them on regarding a product or service, or buy one, get one free, or discount, or maybe a free webinar or something like that, right? There's tons of different types of value offers that, in my experience of running Facebook ads, free is for me is kind of the quote I would have you kind of jot down as a funny note, right? People love free stuff. People love value first. And my experience with Network After Work has been, give value first and don't try to come in and sell somebody something right away, right? So if I can kind of grab their attention, provide value and have the right audience, well, now I've got them into that beginning phase of that sales funnel image that I just showed you. Now I can kind of educate them, guide them through, and provide value through the different steps in that process. So we'll go to the next slide. So there are tons of options with Facebook. I mean, it's crazy to see how many different things you guys can do with ads. And so without me trying to go in this presentation and try to cover all of these things, I just figured, hey, let's just take a screenshot and show everybody these are all the different types of ads that you can run, right? So you can see the different types of audiences, different types of objectives. That's where you just want to kind of think, when you run a Facebook ad, what are you looking to do from a business perspective? Are you trying to reach more people? Are you trying to generate leads? Are you trying to grow your page likes? Are you trying to get more conversations? Are you trying to get foot traffic into your store, right? And then there's all different types of ad types, right? So it's not just anymore an image or a video. We can do product collections. We can do messenger chatbots. We can do stories, right? Stories have been exploding in the last year. So there's tons of different options, right? And then wait a second, there's even more things to do with the algorithm, right? So there's the budgets, the bidding, the goals, the pricing, right? So when you look at these two slides, you're probably scratching your head right now and saying, oh my gosh, Benjamin, this is so much information. Where do I even start? And that's where, for me, in my experience of doing Facebook ads now for quite some time, I've really kind of found that the three types of objectives or goals that most business owners or people that are investing in Facebook ads is going to focus mainly around likes, leads, and conversions, or sales, right? Building a fan base, getting people that actually want to talk to you via email or phone, and obviously getting customers. So I kind of have sculpted my presentation around that and just wanted to show you all the different capabilities. So let's start with a planning checklist. If you have a second, if you're near your computer or you've got a pen and paper, why don't you go ahead and take your existing Facebook page or any ads that you've had and write out this checklist with me while we're going through this presentation. So number one, I want you to, if you're listening to this presentation, let's identify what are your business objectives and KPIs, right? So let's use the example I have of a retail store here that's going to be in the following slide. Maybe if I'm a retail store, my business objective is I need more foot traffic now that I'm reopening my store, or I really need to get some more e-commerce sales because my store isn't getting enough foot traffic. So I just want more conversions. I want more people either coming into my store or shopping online. Next is kind of setting your Facebook budget, right? So you can set your Facebook budget either on a campaign optimization where you allow Facebook to say, hey, I want to spend this much on Facebook, but optimize for, all the different campaigns, and I'll let you guys decide it. Or you can do a daily budget, which is honestly, like from my perspective, I know that the campaign budget optimization feature of your budget is a good thing in my experience of Facebook ads. But when I'm first starting with a new prospect or a new client, I normally like to kind of guard them in that, that daily budget, right? That way they can kind of control, they don't over spend, and we can kind of adjust that daily budget. From there, it's kind of segmenting your audience, right? So audience in Facebook ads is Facebook ad groups. That's just another word. That's how they have it in their back end. So kind of identifying, let's say, for example, if we're talking about a retail store, I'm looking for maybe women that are going to buy some purses, right? Age 23 to 65 that have, I don't know, maybe shopped on Etsy, or maybe they shop at JCPenney's. I'm just bringing some examples and kind of figuring out those different types of shopping audiences that might be relevant for my retail store. From there, it's identifying, once I start running those ads, which of those different audiences is going to work the best, right? Maybe an audience from Macy's is going to work better from an audience from JCPenney's, for example, right? So I would want to test those things and identify that. And then from there, that's when you're going to start creating these really kind of smart audiences, right? When I was kind of mentioning having a smart audience strategy, you can actually create in Facebook a custom audience, which is just pretty much saying, like, think of it if you're a salesperson or if you've ever used a CRM system, right? You're going to have a list of people that is a specific list or audience that you're going to target, right? So we can do that in Facebook. You can upload different types of things into custom audiences, right? You can use custom audience where you're targeting interest base in Facebook ads, or you could, for example, let's say you do have a list from a CRM, or you've got a leads list or something. You can upload any type of CSV or Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheet up to Facebook ads and say, hey, Facebook, here's all my customers that I have. I'd really like to be able to have this as an audience to either upsell or stay top of mind. And then that actually leads me into my next audience, that's lookalike audience, right? So lookalike audience, very simply, is just you telling Facebook, hey, I just uploaded my customer list. I'd like for you to go out and find in your advanced algorithm people that look exactly like my customers, or a lookalike audience of my customer list. And that's super powerful. I've seen a lot of our best results actually come from developing really smart custom audiences and then transitioning those into lookalike audiences, because those are people that may not know about your business. And Facebook is actually matching those lookalike audiences based on the data that you provide them, right? So another example might be if somebody's engaging with your page, right? Maybe you have the same fans that are engaging with your page over and over again. Well, that probably is a good signifier that something about those people are engaged with your brand. So why wouldn't you want to go find other people that look like those people that are engaging with your brand and kind of maybe try to get some of those fans or leads or sales also through a lookalike audience? So this is kind of a basic checklist that I would go through when I'm launching a Facebook ad campaign. And feel free, Natalie, to stop me at any point if you have some questions.
We have some questions that came in.
Okay.
So in regards to the lookalike audience that you were discussing now, can you create that without clients?
Correct. Yes, you can. You can create lookalike audiences from a number of different things. So I kind of mentioned, like, if you have a Facebook page, you could create a lookalike audience of everybody that's liked your page. You could create a lookalike audience of anybody that's engaged with your page. You could even do a lookalike audience of people that have watched your videos, if you've been publishing videos on your page. And if you don't have a customer file or something like that, I would say test your custom audiences first as you kind of maybe build a interest-based audience. And then if you see that's performing well, then create a lookalike audience around that. So there's definitely tons of options there. And one other final one that's coming in later in the presentation is your website, right? You can create lookalike audiences around also people that are visiting your website. So you have tons of options for lookalike audiences.
Perfect. And we have one more question. What information do you need on your customer list to upload to Facebook? Is it just name only? Do you need name, email, phone number, etc.?
Yeah, great question. So there's actually 15 different identifiers. If you're going to be uploading a customer list, they actually list that on the Facebook Business Help Center. If you just type into google.com and say, what are the Facebook identifiers to upload a customer list as a custom audience, you'll be able to find that. But in my experience, the bare minimum things that you're going to need is you're really just going to need 5 fields. And that's going to be first name, last name, city, state, and country. If you have those 5 things, Facebook's going to be able to identify that person very quickly on Facebook, because keep in mind too, right? People have a lot of the same names. Let's say, for example, John Smith in the United States, maybe versus John Smith in the United Kingdom, right? So Facebook is going to be able to actually identify and match the correct person if you at least can give them their names and maybe the city or the location that they're based. Email, phone number, gender, all of that other extra stuff is great. The more stuff that you have, the more, correct or more detailed your campaigns can be. But I would just say at a bare minimum, those 5 things: first name, last name, city, state, and country.
Perfect. We actually just had one more come in, and then we'll take a couple after the next couple of slides.
Sure.
But how do you know what the interests are of the audience you are targeting?
Yeah, so when you are setting up your Facebook ad campaigns, when you're going in and you're creating the ad campaigns, there will be a box that says detailed targeting, and you can go and type those in. So it's already got populated, millions of different types of interests. And another effective way that you can do this is they also have another tool within the Facebook ads platform called Audience Insights. And if you're not familiar with that, it's just one of the tools that you can use where you can go type in any of the major brands and see what audiences have already liked that brand or other brands that are what are called affinities to that brand. So that would be kind of like, I would test maybe typing in some different things to Facebook ads detail targeting. I'd maybe look at the audience insights. And then also just knowing your customers, right? That's nothing like Facebook specific. That's more of just a marketing thing, like knowing your audience. If you don't know who your audience is for your business, my recommendation is to do a survey or to reach out to your existing customers in a quick email or a phone call and just say, what interests you outside of my product or service? And maybe that will help you in kind of your targeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
So the next thing, right, in kind of this checklist, right, I want to kind of break each of those points down, is number one is identifying your business objectives and your KPIs. So I have some different things here, right? You can feel free, if you've got your checklist in front of you, you can write some of these down. You looking to get new users? Are you trying to get, awareness of your product in a certain category? Do you know maybe what the average lifetime value is, right? I know especially in the insurance-based industry, I've done a lot of Facebook ads for lead generation, and they might have a customer for 5 to 10 years, right? Maybe if they've got like a home insurance or a life insurance policy with a family. So really write those down. These are some examples here. There's something here that kind of stands out for you guys. Feel free to grab that. And then I wanted to show kind of what this looks like. So in my example, I kind of mentioned to you, we're going to do an example of a retail store, right, that's looking to get sales in person or online through e-commerce, and just kind of made up a product right here, right? They're selling, they're a national grocery store. They're selling like granola bars for maybe like fitness and wellness, health-oriented type of people. And we're going to have a campaign where we're going to say, we're willing to pay a conversion, maybe of a sale to buy our product, or to sign up for a subscription or something of $6, and we want them to be able to find our store, to either come in or buy it online. And then here's some of the different interests, right? So we're doing some, maybe they bought something in the past, maybe their store is in a given radius near us, right? Maybe they're in a 50-mile radius of Denver, Colorado. And then you can kind of see maybe I've done some lookalike audiences. Retargeting is a concept I'll talk about here in a second, but then look at some of these different like interests I have, right? Maybe they're high spenders, maybe they're already shopping at like Whole Foods, maybe they've liked a bunch of vegan recipes and they like Chewy bars or Cliff bars or something like that. And then maybe some of the different ad types, right? I'm going to run an ad that's in the news feed. I'm going to have a video. and then kind of give myself a period, right? So best practice for you in Facebook ads for everyone, there's a phase of Facebook ads. When you start with Facebook ads, it's called the learning phase. And learning phase is pretty much just saying that, hey, at Facebook and our crazy algorithm, we really need about 2 weeks to learn from your ads and whatever you're offering to your given audiences so that we can really kind of give you benchmarks of what those metrics are going to be, right? So this $6 cost per conversion, that might be what my goal is. But when I run the ads, I'm not really going to know what that number is going to be until I run the ads, right? So it's going to vary, and I'm going to be able to know after 2 weeks if my ads, what those metrics are, and it will go out of the learning phase. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you run any Facebook ad campaigns, my suggestion is get your value offer, get your audience, write your goals, but then let that ad campaign run for 2 weeks before you go and make any crazy changes or say, hey, this isn't working. As far as budget is concerned, there is a video that I have just recently created around how do you get your invoices, how does billing work, all of these kind of maybe technical words of like, what's the bids and the budgets. And I kind of briefly touched on at the beginning of this presentation, what is the campaign daily budget? And really what I would just say, if you're first starting out, if you're a beginner on Facebook ads, my recommendation is start with daily budgets, right? You can say, I want to spend $10, $15 a day on Facebook ads. I gave you that metric too on, what's a good threshold to pay in a given month. Average small business owner is spending $500. So I would have anyone that's listening to this presentation today or in the future understand that if you're going to spend less than $500 a month on Facebook ads, it's probably not worth your time. I'd rather you go spend that $500 elsewhere, because you're just not going to get your ads seen, or you're not going to get enough traction for you to actually get results. So keep in the back of your mind that you're going to want at least a $500 monthly budget. And then from up there, the more you can do, the better your results can potentially be. And so maybe start with a daily budget. I always start too with like low cost, right? Whenever you start with a Facebook ad campaign, you don't know what your cost per conversion is. You don't know what your cost per acquisition or your cost per lead is. So start with the lowest cost. You're pretty much telling Facebook, hey, I'm doing it daily. I want to do the lowest cost, and see what the data tells you within those 2 weeks. Once you have some of that data, you can go back and say, I actually want to cost cap a Facebook. I don't want to spend more than $1 for a Facebook fan. And I actually kind of know how many fans I might get in a given day. So I'm going to just give Facebook a budget for the month of $500 and let them optimize the campaigns so I don't have any wasted ad spend, right? And so budget really dictates your audience reach. And just also keep in mind too that, just because you spend more on Facebook doesn't always lead to higher profit or higher sales or higher leads. It's kind of the law of diminishing returns. If anyone knows anything about, economics, right? Just because you put more into investment doesn't always necessarily mean that you're going to make more. And also your ads, right? They get old. There are millions of Facebook marketers. I just explained to you at the beginning of this presentation, there's 80 million businesses, small businesses that are doing that. So constantly new ads being approved, new audience being tested, right? Especially with Black Friday and Christmas coming up, you will see around that time of period, right? From November to December is going to always be the most expensive, because that's when you have the most advertisers. So you want to just kind of keep that in mind too with your budget. In this video too, I'm not going to walk through that in today's presentation, but you will have access to that at the end. So I'll take a break here for questions after I kind of talk about kind of that sales funnel, right? So the way I like to kind of think about Facebook ads, right, is you, as a salesman, right, you don't just go in, create a relationship with someone and make sales, right? And cold, right, any salesperson that's ever done cold calling knows exactly what that means. They don't know who you are. They don't know your business yet, and they're cold. They haven't warmed up to you yet because you haven't built rapport or relationship with you. So when you first start with Facebook ads, right, you can do a lot of, as I kind of explained, detailed interest-based targeting and kind of focus on those cold audiences to start with, because they're going to be really cheap, right? Facebook's not going to charge you a lot. You're going to be able to target a bunch of different interests. But then once you kind of have some of that initial traction, right? Let's say if I start with a Facebook likes campaign just to build up my fan base, get some social proof for my Facebook ad page, because that is a factor now in 2020, right? Average consumer, they're going to go to Google to find your business first and go check out, see if you have a website. If after that, they've checked out your website, probably the next thing they're doing is they're going to Facebook or LinkedIn, right? So having a credible page that's got content on it, you've got some few fans, that's always my recommendation for anybody that doesn't have a Facebook page, is start there. Start your Facebook ad campaigns focused on a little bit of fan base growth so that it makes it look like you're a credible business and you have that proof. And then you can kind of move into that warm, right? So once you have kind of the, that initial, targeting of kind of interest base, now we can start to do people that have engaged with your business. So that's where I was kind of explaining, we can start to create some custom audiences or some lookalike audiences, right? So things like, have they visited my website? Have they liked some of my posts? Have I uploaded a customer CSV file potentially, right? Those are warmer audiences because they already know about you, of what you're selling or your business, and they're a little bit warmer, right? So then it's kind of thinking, all right, they know about me. Maybe they have some interest. Maybe at the warm phase, they don't really know if they have a problem, right? So maybe that warm to hot is kind of in your ads, right? Is maybe doing something like a post engagement ad or a lead ad where you're giving a value offer to solve their problem. So if I'm a retail store owner, for example, maybe my issue is, hey, I'm Benjamin, I have a really hard time getting visibility. With all the pandemic issues, I've had to open and reopen, shut down. I had to let go of some people. Now everybody's buying our products online. I need to go to e-commerce, right? Maybe if I was, targeting you as a retail shop owner, I might say, would you like to see a free case study on how you can make $5,000 in sales with Facebook ads? That might grab your attention. You might want to see that case study. And now I'm kind of like hitting on that pain point that you have of, hey, pandemics really forced my business to have an e-commerce shop. Benjamin has a solution on how I can make sales with e-commerce. I want to give him my contact information so I can talk to him, see how he can help me, or potentially I can take this case study and do it myself and try to, create my own Facebook ads, right? So that's kind of taking them from, maybe you already know about me, I have a value offer for them that wants to guide them to that next step. And now that's kind of like a hotter audience, right? So they've converted into a lead. Maybe they bought like a one-off, smaller product for me, right? That's another thing I would say is like, if you sell something that is a high ticket price, right? Maybe you're selling something that's like $2,000 to $10,000. Give them a free consultation call, charge $100 for that, or give them a ebook or a checklist that's $5 to $10, right? That's still providing value. It's low risk for them, and you can kind of warm them up to turn them into a hotter audience. And now, okay, wow, they've been to my website, they like these interests, they've liked my page, they've engaged with my free case study, they gave me their contact information. Right now they're hot. Now so it's kind of like thinking like, how do I turn them into that end customer that I want, right? So that's you then, maybe doing a reminder Facebook ad where it's maybe like another case study, or maybe it's another different type of piece of content, right? Like I've been doing for our company, like we've done some webinars and now I'm doing virtual summits. So there might be some people in today's presentation that saw me in the LinkedIn virtual summit, and now they're seeing me in the Facebook and they're saying, wow, this Benjamin guy, he keeps delivering all this valuable content for me for free, and he has a solution that I need to kind of help me with my e-commerce store. I really should talk to this guy. That's kind of, putting them into that super hot. That's also where we can kind of do retargeting. Retargeting is just the concept of, if you visited my page or you visited my website, I can retarget you. And that's kind of like the analogy I like to make there is like, I know there's a lot of women that have come to me and they've said, hey, I was shopping for a summer bathing suit on Google. And then all of a sudden I went to my Facebook page and there was a bikini top. And it was like, how did they know to give me another ad? Well, that's retargeting, right? When you set up Facebook ads, you have a little piece of code snippet called a Facebook pixel code. And you can put that on your website, and that's low-hanging fruit. So that's a free tip for you guys. If you are not using a Facebook pixel code on your website, please go do that immediately if you're running any Facebook ads, because you can pretty much run retargeting ad campaigns for very, very cheap. And that's low-hanging fruit because those are people that have already visited your page, they've engaged with you, and you can just run ads on kind of them being further down that sales funnel cycle. And then obviously a final thing to be super hot is taking your existing customers and seeing, are there any other, other services or products that you might offer? Maybe there's a cross-sell promotion, maybe there's an upsell or something like that, right? So now you can kind of start to kind of create a lifetime value with these new customers. And so I kind of walk through these in our presentation. There's obviously that video, and then I'm going to kind of like go into identifying, these different types of audience. So take a quick little stop here and see if there's any questions from you, Natalie.
Perfect. Yes, we had quite a few questions come in. So Diana wrote in, she says, I was banned from doing Facebook ads on one of my pages 10 years ago, and I don't know why. I have created several business pages since then, and I get the same message saying that it won't let me advertise. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, so there's a number of reasons as to why that might be happening. So first thing I would check is I would check to make sure if you ran Facebook ads in the past, that your ads, your old ads account is in good standing, meaning that you've paid your invoices. Like if you have if you have any unpaid invoices, sometimes that will prevent you from being able to open up any new ad pages. I'd also check your actual page to see if there's any notifications of, did you put out some piece of content that wasn't accepted? Did you run an ad campaign that wasn't accepted? And then if you've troubleshooted both of those things, the third step then would be going to Facebook support. I know that Facebook support is a little strapped during the pandemic, where they're not as responsive as they have been in the past. But in my experience with that, it's just staying on top of it. Like going into Facebook support, there's a little question symbol at the top of your Facebook page where you can actually send the Facebook support group a message and say, hey, this is the issue. Can you please look into this? If you don't hear from them within 5 days, send them another one. If you don't hear from them again another 5 days, send them another one. Pretty much in my experience, sometimes I've had issues with Facebook ad accounts that last upwards of 2 to 3 months. But if you're going to Facebook support every month, every time that happens, so you understand how that works, your support request gets put into a queue system and it gets flagged as a sense of urgency. And if your request of the inbox is the same thing over and over again, then their algorithm flags that as a more urgent thing, and it's going to keep in their system. So the people that work at Facebook on their end from their job, right? That's their job. They have to approve or resolve all of those issues. So, best answer there is if you're not getting an answer, you're not figuring out what's wrong, you need to keep following up until they resolve the issue. And then finally, the last thing I would say, if none of that works, is try to find another team member on your team or another person that doesn't have any issues with Facebook ads and just set up the account through their Facebook.
Perfect. We had a few questions come in regards to the pixel code. Can you describe that one more time and just go into a brief description as to how to create that?
Yeah, so the Facebook pixel code is actually going to be something that you will have in your Facebook ads account. So you'll need to be in your ads manager account, and there will be a section that has Facebook pixel code. And just to quickly show you guys what that looks like, if I was to go to our website, Global Social Media Marketing for our company, there's a handy dandy little Facebook pixel checker tool that will allow you to be able to check if you have a Facebook pixel properly installed. So you can see right here, I've got what's called the Facebook Pixel Helper. This is a free Google Chrome extension that you can use, and the pixel will come from Facebook ads. And all you need to do is make sure that you have put that pixel code on your website. If you're using something like WordPress, there's plenty of plugins that will allow you to do that. And you can then double check to make sure that you properly installed that through using the Facebook Pixel Helper. Or if all of that's way over your head, my recommendation for you is to work with a website developer, and Facebook Pixel Code will be very simple for them. There's also plenty of training videos on YouTube on how to install Facebook Pixel codes. And really what you need to understand is this is a code that you're putting on your website so that whenever anybody enters onto your website, you can retarget those people with ads later on.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's see. We can take one or two more questions. What is the average cost per click that a business should shoot for to know that their ads are working?
Yeah, great question. So there's no easy answer for that, right? I could ask you 100 follow-up questions to that question. What region are you targeting? Who's your audience? What's your value offer? What's your daily budget? What's your creative look like? Like all of those things that go into deciding that. will really be the leading factor for that. And it also depends on what your business objective is. So going back real quickly to all of these different things, right? If your objective is site traffic, Facebook is going to give you a cheaper cost per click versus maybe if I'm running a business objective campaign that's focused around lead generation, they're optimizing for me to get leads on my website. So it may be a higher cost per click. So I can't really give you a good answer for that. I'll kind of maybe follow up with a answer of like, for me, for leads, I find that I can get a lead anywhere from $1.50 a lead to upwards of $60 a lead. And within that kind of range, I'd be looking for a cost per click, hopefully of under $2.
Perfect. Okay, we'll take one more before moving on. How would you target an audience to crowdfund a nonprofit?
How would I target an audience to crowdfund a nonprofit? Interesting. I think the answer there for a nonprofit is you need to just understand your audience. So are you looking for high income donors, or are you looking for people that care about a cause? So really for me, that's more of an audience question of really understanding your audience. Like, let's say, for example, the nonprofit is helping cancer patients, and we're, a certain amount of that donation goes into cancer research to help those people, right? It's kind of understanding, what do those people care about in the cause? Do they care about the research? Do they care about maybe a 5K race that they can be a part of? So I think the easy answer to that question is really understanding your audience. And for crowdfunding specifically, I've seen a lot of campaigns work really well if you kind of have a really good value offer with the messaging of what resonates with the audience, and then it takes them to a landing page that has kind of a nice video and explains why it's important in that crowdfunding to actually fund that objective.
Awesome, thank you.
All really good questions. So moving on, right, talking about audiences, I think that, again, for me, I think that's one of the biggest pain points that I've had working with a lot of people in Facebook ads is they just don't have the right audiences, right? They're targeting everyone. They're too generic. They don't use the tools that are available. So, there's some basic questions like, what do they want to buy? What category are they in? What interests do they use, right? And you can do all of that in the Facebook ads platform. But then there's all these free tools too, right? So I mentioned Facebook Audience Insights. Google Analytics, that's another great tool. If you have a website and you don't have Google Analytics, I would immediately go get that installed after this presentation. And what's really cool about Google Analytics is it's going to show me, where are my website visitors coming from? What's their age? What demographic? All that information I should take from the website. And it's not always going to match up with Facebook. So I would keep that in your mind too. Like, I've had clients where sometimes their in-person audience is actually completely different than their Facebook audience, and that's fine. But using more data points, right, from your website or your in-person or your Facebook, and kind of having those work in tandem with each other are really nice. Another really cool thing is the Facebook ads library. And I actually, a lot of people don't realize that this is a free tool. So I'm just going to quickly show you guys this. But if you go to Google and you type in Facebook ads library, the first result on Google is actually going to be an entire ad library that Facebook has now released within the last year or two on seeing any ads that you want to see. So let's say, for example, I wanted to, let's say, for example, like, I'm based in Denver. If I wanted to go see like Chipotle, right? They're based in Denver or from Colorado. I can literally go type into Facebook ads library, hey, I want to see ads of my competitor Chipotle. Here it is. There's an exact example of what the ad was. I can go and I can see the ad details, right? I can see the image they used, the copy. They give me a rough estimate of how much they spent. I can know what audiences maybe they targeted or they resonated. So this is super powerful, guys. Don't try to go reinvent the wheel, obviously, with Facebook ads. Obviously go create your own messaging and don't try to copy somebody. But what I'm trying to say in that is, if you think that your industry isn't on Facebook ads, you're probably wrong, is what I'm trying to say. Pretty much every industry is doing Facebook ads because it's the third most visited website in the world today. So whatever your website is will never compete with Facebook at this stage. And Facebook has now given you a transparent solution to be able to see what ads look like of your competitors in your industry. We've got other tools like Facebook Ads Manager. ManyChat is a very cool kind of chatbot solution that you can kind of rapid fire test. I'm not going to get into that for today's presentation, but that is another video in our giveaway. And then Zapier, right? A lot of people are Zapier know about that. That's a really cool tool to just kind of integrate and automate, maybe, for example, if you're doing like Facebook leads or things like that. So kind of going into those different types of audiences, right? We talked at the beginning of like custom audiences, and I think maybe this visually will kind of help a lot of people from those questions, right? So we're kind of thinking about taking people from cold to warm to hot to super hot. This is how I can create a custom audience, right? In Facebook ads, I can upload a customer list. I could, use my mobile app. If I have an app, I can use my website, and then I can target people. For example, I want to make a custom audience of everyone that's visited my website in the last 180 days, and I want to give them a value offer for a free consultation, right? That's a really good example of, using a smarter audience that is not going to be maybe as cold. They're going to be a little bit warmer. I'm going to be trying to move them to a, warm or hot audience. So that's one example. And now I kind of want to transition before I go into lookalike audiences, some different ad campaigns. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the likes in the lead ad campaigns first, and then I'll stop for some questions for Natalie. So this is an example of one of our clients that we're working with at Global at Peter Montoya. If you haven't heard about him, go check out his website at petermontoya.com. He's a leadership development guru, speaker, author, and doing some really exciting things around leadership development. This is an example that we were working with him on his team. You can see of Les Brown, who's a motivational speaker, and just a really simple quote. We actually didn't even have any text. We just literally had this like very contrast kind of gold and brown blackish image. And we did it worldwide because he was trying to get like a vanity metric of getting a lot of fans, right? And so you can kind of see here, right? Like for $8 a day, in this campaign, he spent, I think the total amount that he spent here was like under $5,000 or something like that. Like, I mean, he has a million fan base page just doing this simple targeting, right? He just targeted like the different continents, 18 to 65, English. This is the creative, and boom, he's getting at a like globally for a penny or less, right? So that's super powerful if you're starting on Facebook and you're like, hey, I really need to just, make it look like my page has a good audience, or you want to get traction. If you have a global audience, right, you can get Facebook fans at a penny. I don't know any other marketing channel where you're going to be able to get a potential customer at less than a penny. So that's kind of an example of a global like campaign. I wanted to show you now an example of more of like a country-based campaign. So this is another example that we did with Mike at ATL Travel Services, the Travel Savings Network. And we were actually running this during the pandemic, right when travel bans and restrictions started happening. And you can see actually this is the exact copy, just very simple call to action, like our page, to know about, historically cheap travel deals. We've got some nice little emojis in there and a really bright image, right? So dreamscaping, hey, we're a travel company, but we know if you're going to go travel, maybe you want to go to the beach, maybe you want a nice cocktail by the pool. You can see all the different types of engagements that we got around that, right? And then he was actually getting likes in the United States and Canada only. So only 2 countries. He's getting a like at about 40 cents per like, right? So he's getting 3 potential customers for $1 almost at that phase, and he's getting a lot of engagement. He's building up his page, and nothing crazy here, right? He's just running Facebook like ad campaigns. Now I want to kind of take away from maybe the country and the global and go more specifically in the statewide campaign. So I thought this was another really cool campaign to show. This is with our client Waste Connections of Colorado, and they're based in the state of Colorado. So this was a campaign that was just run in Colorado, and actually we didn't even target all of Colorado. We targeted only the 25 mile radius of some of the cities that they service as a trash management company. And we actually wrote it in Spanish. That's another thing that I would recommend if you have been running likes campaigns and you're getting maybe likes over $1. You can drive that down if you start to create ads in different languages. So at Global, I'm fluent in Spanish, so we can write Spanish campaigns. So feel free to use this copy from the presentation if you'd like. And we just did a nice little kind of video of the Rocky Stadium. And that's something too, I would say, like, obviously we are targeting people that are environmentally focused. people that need to have a trash management or waste management company that they can trust. But you can see we put in the Colorado Rockies, right? Humanize your brand is so important with Facebook ads. Like, just because it's a trash management company where we're trying to get their service doesn't necessarily mean our ads need to be that, right? This is a video of the Rockies Stadium, and you can see in Spanish, we're getting less than 65 cents a like. And it's all kind of related to, hey, we know you're in Colorado. There's a good chance that you're a Colorado Rockies fan. And we're putting that in there and saying, hey, if you like our page, you can learn more about sustainable practices with our company as a Rockies fan. So always kind of remember that when you're doing some of your targeting. Think about what interests your fans outside of just your product or service. So that was some examples of some likes campaigns. Once you have some likes campaigns, you can kind of start to do some more event responses and engagement. I wanted to just briefly show that if you're running any Facebook events, that we just did one for one of our webinars that we had with Poster My Wall. So shout out to them on kind of doing a social media webinar for this year. And we actually get people for less than 60 cents to attend that event, right? So you can see right here, 533 people interested, 37 people going. And we didn't have to spend too much money, guys. We spent maybe about $200, $300 to get, over 500 people that are saying that they want to attend our webinar. So if you're doing anything virtual this year, my recommendation is, like, if you have some fans or you're going to do a webinar or a virtual summit like this, create a Facebook event page and run Facebook event responses. I guarantee you're going to have a lot more people show up to your virtual events. So that kind of leads me into the lookalike audience, which is something that I had talked about, right? So again, if you have a customer list or your website traffic, you can create lookalike audiences around that. And I do have another video in our giveaway that you guys can see how to do that. I'm not going to go in. I just want to kind of briefly show that. And now I'm going to kind of go into leads before I stop here, because I still have a little bit more to cover in this presentation. For Facebook leads, right? I've done a ton of Facebook lead ad generation. I see this work really well for anybody that's in the service-based industry. So think lawyer, trash management company was another great example. Insurance people, coaches, consultants, right? Any type of industry where, if I'm a consumer, or even doctors, chiropractors, right? Like, I'm probably not going to buy your product or service right away until I've talked to you. I've talked to you about my specific situation. I want to learn more about your experience. So those type of service-based industries, I would say Facebook lead ads is going to work really well. Also, if you own a retail or a restaurant store, you can get people, think of this as like kind of getting email subscribers, right? Once you get their email information, boom, now I've got their email. Now I can run email campaigns for as long as I want, unless they unsubscribe from my email. So this is another really good way to kind of collect emails. Really cheap. There's two different ways that you can do Facebook lead ads. You can do actually in the native platform, where you have like a very simple form that they fill out within Facebook, or you could do a website conversion, where you're doing a conversion campaign, but you're driving them to a landing page and they're filling out their form. We know that Facebook lead ads are really cheap. They're really friendly too if you're on your mobile phone. And you can see this is another example for that same travel company. We did a lookalike audience of their Canada and US, and we were able to get them leads at $1.34 per lead, where they were able to then direct that to their call center. Their call center is able to call those people and say, hey, wait, what vacation package are you looking for? Are you looking to go to the Bahamas? Or are you trying to go on a beach vacation? Are you a little worried about some of the pandemic restrictions? Are you trying to just stay local, do a road trip, trying to get in the outdoors more, right? So these are really good to just, keep your form very simple, right? Like a nice image or whatever, and then they sign up. But keep it very simple of like first name, last name, email, and phone number. That's pretty much all you need to follow up with a lead at that point. And then, another kind of pro tip I'd say, if they say, hey, well, how did you get my information? I don't remember filling out this form. You actually get that information in Facebook. It's all trackable, right? It's not like a billboard or something, or a newspaper where you're like, oh, I saw it in the newspaper, but I don't remember it or whatever. I could literally just take a screenshot of their form fill and say, well, actually, you saw this ad and you filled in this form, and I have your information from this as a reminder. That way, there's no question of them saying, I don't remember this or wherever. So that's another really good benefit. And then to answer that cost per click question, right? Here's an example. This guy, 2 countries, we're getting a cost per click at less than 30 cents. So that's really cheap for you to get like actually targeted traffic to your website. So there's all these different things, right, that we're talking about in this presentation of how do I take somebody from consuming content, taking them from cold to warm, These are all the different types of rankings for your ads. So your ads are actually ranked as quality. Do they convert well? Is the engagement? These are just straight definitions. So just keep these in mind, as these are factors of your ads that Facebook will tell you. So obviously you want to have a good quality ranking, or a good conversion ranking, or a good engagement rate ranking. So that just kind of takes me, before I stop in the conversions here, is, how many people buy something the first time they see it? Not that many people, right? People are smart these days. They have a lot of options. They have the internet. It's going to take a couple of touch points. So, as an example for us, right, we might do like an ebook or webinar. Now we're doing all these virtual summits with Network After Work. And that's kind of giving them like, wow, like I've seen Benjamin and his company now a few times in different brand touch points before I buy his product or service. So this is an example of a webinar that we did. We promoted it through like a boosted post. You can watch that on our YouTube channel. And then we did kind of an ebook offering where we're doing that, right? Look at this, guys. Less than a penny I'm getting for a boosted post of our ebook to go download. I mean, that's awesome. I don't know anywhere you're going to be able to do that. Then we did a retargeting campaign. We're doing all the website visitors and kind of guiding them through. So, testimonials are also really good. Like if you have customers that you can turn into ads, that's really good social proof where you're not selling your product, somebody else is for you. And don't forget about payment plans. That's also another really good option when people's kind of cost spending is kind of maybe more conservative right now in 2020. They're trying to be careful about where they put their money. Offer them a payment plan, buy, half now, pay the rest later. You can put that in your ad copy. So I know Natalie has let me know that, we're running up close on time. So I'm going to just kind of get through the rest of this presentation and then answer questions here at the end so I can get through everything. So, I wanted to show an example from one of our fellow Academy alumni graduates with a company based in Ukraine to give a little bit international flavor to the presentation. They actually have a methodology or some screenshots here of getting $100,000 in Facebook ads for one business through e-commerce sales. So I know there's probably some retail people out there that would love to see that. Here's an actual screenshot to show you that I'm not making this up, right? They're actually spending for every $4 on Facebook, for every dollar they're spending, they're getting $4 back on Facebook. That's awesome. Their cost per acquisition of a customer is $22. They had over 1,000 purchases, and they really just used this methodology called the sniper campaign. And, for remote leads in the Ukraine, they have a strategy where they really kind of focus on leveraging cost bidding, telling them, hey, I only want you to go out and spend this much for me, Facebook. And you can see all the different types of audiences that they have, like, the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel. So they're looking at those audiences that I talked about. Are they cold? Did they warm? Did they visit our website? Did they purchase something in the past? Right. So that's kind of the sniper method, is really kind of like, telling Facebook, I only want to spend this much, and I want to leverage like the audiences that are the best. So you can kind of see some of the ones that they did, people that have purchased. They did, maybe just the generic. They did like a lookalike audience. They did a lot of like retargeting of people if they've engaged with their brand to kind of drive some of that down. And they use dynamic creatives so that they can have variations of different images and videos, right? They didn't just always have the same ad running. They made it dynamic so that they had different options. And they tested 3 different copies, 3 different headlines, 3 different images, all of these different ways and exactly what they did. So I wanted to give a shout out to them. They had, their best performing campaigns. So they're testing, 5 different ad sets at $500. So that, again, they're meeting that threshold. And all of these different numbers that you can see for like, how much did it cost them? What groups worked the best for them? Which headlines? They use that sniper methodology that I talked about, right? So that's everything there. And then the different audiences, just to quickly go through those. If they're selling a product, right, they're doing abandoned carts, or they're doing people that visit a page, they're doing lookalike audiences, warmer audiences. They tried cold audiences, right? And then you can see some examples of their ads, right? So they did, some benefits of free shipping, 0% tax, shop now. They've got, different images of the actual product, right? So this is a really good example. So shout out to Remote Leads for crushing it in Facebook ads this year to get $100,000 for one brand. And I've got some things to kind of close with here in the presentation, as I know we're coming up here in the last minute, that, if you're having any issues with your Facebook ads, feel free to take a screenshot of this, or I'm not going to, walk through all this as we're running out of time, but there are different types of ways that we can identify, what's the problem, why is this happening, and what's the diagnosis. So it's kind of like thinking about yourself almost as like a doctor, where not every Facebook ad is going to be the same Facebook ad that works for every patient or customer, right? So you need to figure out, why is it not working? What are the symptoms, and how do I diagnose to make sure that it's better? And then to kind of close with, you're only a few clicks away from getting started with Facebook ads. If all of this is like, wow, Benjamin, this is so much stuff, I can't handle all this, is crazy information. That's what we do at Global Social Media Marketing. We run Facebook ads every day. We've been doing it for quite some time. We offer all these different services within creating those Facebook ads. And as a free giveaway, I'm going to leave this here for you guys. If you want to just go ahead and type this link into your browser, I've got 26 YouTube videos that I've created in the last 2 years on Facebook ads. They're all for free. I'm giving it away for all for free. If you attend this presentation, just go click on this page, on this landing page, and you can go fill in your information, and we'll send you that Facebook course. And I really appreciate Network After Work for having me as a speaker. I can't thank them enough. They're a great organization. And if you don't have time for Facebook ads, what I would say is work with an expert, whether it's with me or somebody else. And I have my contact information for everyone if you feel the need to reach out to me. So I'd love to help anyone that stayed around or is looking to expand and with leads and sales with Facebook ads. So I'll kind of leave it now to Natalie for questions and kind of Q&A here at the end.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're actually past our time, so we won't be able to do any more Q&A. But thank you so much, Benjamin. It was a great presentation. I hope everybody learned a lot about Facebook ads. Again, if you have any questions for Benjamin, there's his contact information. That way you can reach out to him directly. So thank you again.